Izon? Izon kimemi? Asawana? Agbagua? Yesimia? The memorandum presented by the Ijaw Youth Council Central Zone under the leadership of Comrade Perekosufa Ineife as regards to the international community, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the leadership of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, and the joint venture partners of the success of the Tantita Security Service, Nigeria Limited, and the self-serving campaign for the decentralization of the pipeline surveillance contract held at Ijaw House, Yenagoa, Bayelsa State on the 27th day of March 2026. Your Excellency, Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFRO, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, gentlemen of the press, distinguished members of the diplomatic community, respected thought leaders, international oil companies, and management of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, the joint venture partners, and the people of the Niger Delta, particularly the Ijaw Youth Council Central Zone. Today we address not only the Nigerian public, but the global community that has continued to observe the trajectory of Nigerian oil industry, particularly the progress made in safeguarding the critical oil and gas infrastructure that has sustained the economic lifeblood of our nation. This memorandum has become necessary in light of the recent agitation and the coordinated campaign of Camry by some certain individuals and their associates, most notably Comrade Victor Ben, popularly known as Boilov, and Comrade Chutaside, who has been publicly calling for the decentralization of the pipeline surveillance contract currently executed by Tantita Security Service Limited. We consider the importance to present this fact to the world and the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria so that the national decisions are guided by truth, history, and measurable outcomes rather than by the narrow interest individual whose motivations are highly questionable. Before addressing this present agitation, it is important to recall that the pipeline surveillance contract in the Niger Delta has undergone several operational phases. For more than 6 years, responsibility for pipeline surveillance has handled by almost exclusively by the Ocean Marine Solution Limited, a company owned by the late Captain Osa Okumbo of the Edo State. Prior to that period, however, the federal government under the administration of President Goodluck Jonathan experimented with the decentralization of pipeline surveillance contract among several stakeholders across the Niger Delta. While the decentralized arrangement was presented as an inclusive approach at that time, the outcome revealed a very different reality. The experiment largely failed across most corridors of the Niger Delta except in the Western Corridor, which was under the leadership of High Chief Dr. Government Uwezida Epempolo, popularly known as Tompolo. Under Tompolo's leadership in the Western Corridor, pipeline protection recorded significant success. Oil theft was reduced, pipeline vandalization was curtailed, and host communities became more cooperative with security efforts. Unfortunately, in several other corridors controlled by many of the same actors now championing this cause, pipeline protection efforts collapsed almost completely. Crude oil theft continued in our region, and pipeline connection multiplied, vandalized, increased, and Nigerian oil production suffered several losses. The failure of that decentralization arrangement compelled the federal government to revoke the fragmented structure and consolidated the surveillance contract under Ocean Marine Solution Limited. However, even that structure could not contain the complex criminal network responsible for the organized crude oil theft across the Niger Delta region. By 2022, Nigerian production had fallen to one of the lowest levels in the country's modern petroleum history. At the time Tantita Security Service Limited was engaged by the federal government of Nigeria under late Mohammed Buhari, Nigeria produced barely around 800,000 barrels of its crude oil per day, far below the production capacity. The Nigerian economy was under immense pressure. Government revenues were declining, and the country faced real threat of losing credibility in the global energy market. This situation resulted in several economic hardship and recession and pressure. In some states, salaries were paid half, particularly even in Bayelsa. You could recall in 2022, civil servants went home with half salary. That is because of the low income that the federal government was able to reach out to the state. If that was within this context of national emergency, that the federal government engaged Tantita Security Service, Nigeria Limited, under the leadership of High Chief Government Pompolo, to replicate the success previously recorded under President Goodluck Jonathan, this time within a broader framework covering the Western and Central Corridor. The assignment given to Tantita was clear: restore order in the creek restore the pipeline, dismantle the criminal networks responsible for the crude oil theft, and restore Nigerian oil production. Today, the results speak louder than previously won. You will agree with me that since the engagement of the Tantita security team, the crude oil production has increased and is for the betterment of our dear country, Nigeria. Today, the results speak louder than propaganda. Since Tantita assumed responsibility in 2022, Nigeria has witnessed a dramatic improvement in pipeline security and oil production stability. Hundreds of illegal tapping points have been discovered and dismantled. Thousands of illegal refining sites have been destroyed. Pipeline vandalism has significantly reduced. Vessels previously loitering in the shallow offshore area of our facility oil theft have largely seized opportunities due to sustained enforcement by Tantita's security service. Host communities that were once deeply entangled in illegal oil activities are now actively collaborating with surveillance teams to protect national assets of our dear country. These achievements have directly contributed to the recovery of Nigeria oil production and the stabilization of national revenue. It is for this reason the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, could confidently state that the state governments are no longer struggling to secure loans, and there are now access to steady monthly revenue. No government of the country will say they want to go and borrow money to pay salary because there's an increment in the oil production of our dear country. Beyond security operation, Tantita has also achieved something unprecedented in the history of private oil infrastructure protection in the Niger Delta. The company has engaged and empowered more local communities than any other private sector or surveillance organization in the region. Thousands of youths across Bayelsa, Delta, Rivers, Edo, Ondo, and other parts of the Niger Delta has been directly or indirectly employed in pipeline protection activities. Former operators of illegal refinery camps have been rehabilitated and integrated into lawful economic activities. Community leaders, traditional rulers, youth groups, and women organizations have all been incorporated in the collaboration framework that promotes local ownership of pipeline security. No private company operating in the Niger Delta has achieved this scale of grassroots engagement. It is therefore but ironic and suspicious that a time when the Niger Delta is experiencing relative peace and improved economic stability, certain individuals are aggressively campaigning for the dismantling of this current surveillance structure. We must therefore ask this question that many Nigerians are already asking. Why are these individuals solely desperate to decentralize a system that is clearly working for our dear country? The answer is not difficult to discern. The current operational structure under Tantita has drastically reduced opportunities for organized crude oil theft in our country. Most of those now advocating decentralization were prominent actors during the era when illegal oil bunkering thrived across the Niger Delta. The simple truth is simple and uncomfortable. Many of those demanding decentralization seek to regain the leverage and territorial control that would once enable large-scale oil theft. The agitation is not about development, fairness, or inclusion. It is about restoring access to pipeline and reopening the creek for organized oil theft. It is, in essence, an attempt to reclaim a lucrative criminal enterprise that the current Tantita framework has successfully disrupted. Even more revealing is the selective outrage directed just to Tantita. Despite the existence of other surveillance arrangements in the region, it is not only Tantita who is in charge of surveillance contract. We have other contractors who are not even engaging our people. But this one is being directed at Tantita. So we ask the question, why is it directed at Tantita? For instance, the Olu of Eshekiri covers a pipeline protection contract with a broader operational scope, even more than Tantita, and is more lucrative financial framework than Tantita. Yet, there has been little evidence comparative grassroots engagement. Seriously, the critics of Tantita has remained silent on the arrangement. We have not heard that other pipeline surveillance contractors have reached out to our mothers, our fathers in distress. Even during a festive period, I have not been informed that they have reached out to people. Tantita has been reaching out to people. There's one girl that is known, Kara Ships. She was among the people, even from Bayelsa. Even one of our IYC comrades, Goswill Bembo, also received the grant from Tantita. All to build young people, human capacity development. Tantita has been doing well for our region. So we are wondering why other surveillance contractors are not reaching out like Tantita. The question therefore remains, why is Tantita the only target? Another troubling development is the reported meeting that held in Rivers State, where some of our leaders, actors, and allegedly threatened electoral consequences if the contract is not decentralized. The question whatever individual should ask to our people who has reportedly not visited their community in Ezetu, even over the decades, possesses the electoral value to make such a threat. We state clearly that the meeting held in Rivers State does not represent the interests of our people as a region. Rather, it represents a coalition seeking to pressure Mr. President in dismantling a system that has restored stability to the region. The timing of the campaign is equally wrong. And as Nigeria approaches another electoral cycle, it is troubling that some individuals believe they can manipulate the president of this country by creating artificial tension in the Niger Delta. Any attempt to weaken the current surveillance framework for political expedience would have far-reaching consequences. It will reopen avenue for crude oil theft, exacerbate economic degradation, deepen insecurity, and undermine the Nigerian economic recovery. The Niger Delta has suffered enough for decades of environmental degradation and economic exploitation. The fragile peace currently being enjoyed must not be sacrificed on the altar of selfish ambition. The Ijaw Youth Council Central Zone therefore states as follows: we strongly support the continuous operation of Tantita Security Service Nigeria Limited. We commend the leadership of High Chief Government Pompolo, popularly known as Tompolo, for its commitment in protecting national assets and stabilizing the Niger Delta. We also want to commend the Managing Director, High Chief Engineer Kestin Ponde, NFSC, for the administrative competence and strategic leadership he has provided over the years that Tantita has held sway. Furthermore, we urge the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the management of NNPCL, and all joint venture partners not to succumb to the pressure from individuals whose interests are not aligned with the national interests. Nigeria must protect what works. The Niger Delta must not be dragged back into the era of sabotage and economic destruction. The process achieved must preserve and be strengthened. The Niger Delta deserves peace. Nigeria also deserves economic stability. And the world also deserves a reliable energy partner. Our youth also deserves empowerment. And we will continue to speak for our people as Ijaw people. Izon.